SCP-3324. Getting kidney stones in the past is more useful than you'd think. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-3324 is to be contained in a standard small object locker at Site-77 when not being used in testing. Any individual who wishes to access SCP-3324 must get the written permission of the Site Director to do so. If the Site Director wishes to access SCP-3324, they must obtain O5 approval to do so. All testing performed involving SCP-3324 must be rigorously planned, documented, and filed with the Site Director to curb possible abuse. If any Site-77 personnel unexpectedly develop symptoms of kidney stones, they are to be tested to determine if the individual is an SCP-3324-2 instance. Following Test 31, cross-testing of SCP-3324 with other anomalies requires written permission from a Level 4 or higher individual. Description: SCP-3324 is a stainless steel hand sieve with manufacturing marks suggesting it was produced by Juanita Limited. A Foundation investigation found no other sieves of the same or similar models with anomalous properties, or evidence of anomalous activity during the manufacturing of said models. If an individual urinates into SCP-3324, its anomalous properties will trigger and cause the individual, henceforth designated SCP-3324-1, to develop kidney stones retroactively. Upon urinating into SCP-3324, an SCP-3324-1 instance will begin to suffer from kidney stones 18 days in the past. They will intermittently experience severe lower back pain, bloody urine, and occasionally minor urinary tract infections as the stone moves through the kidney and ureter, culminating in the stone being passed into SCP-3324. Appropriate instruments detect tachyon emissions as the kidney stone is being passed. SCP-3324-1 instances possesses two divergent sets of memories, one in which they are suffering from kidney stones over the past 18 days, the current timeline, and one in which they will not, the previous timeline. Other individuals may have the second set of memories as well. The criteria that determines which individuals other than SCP-3324-1 instances receive multiple sets of memories, if indeed any exist, is not fully understood. However, it is known that the likelihood of any given individual receiving a second set of memories is roughly proportional to how frequently the individual interacted with the SCP-3324-1 instance over the past 18 days. The overall sequence of events in the lives of SCP-3324-1 instances are invariably very similar to the current and previous timelines. The most impactful symptoms of kidney stones, such as particularly severe bouts of lower back pain, occur when the SCP-3324-1 instance was doing relatively inconsequential activities in the previous timeline. It has therefore been theorized that SCP-3324 is predisposed to minimizing the impact it has on the timeline in some way. SCP-3324 has a second set of anomalous properties, discovered after Incident Redacted E. Individuals affected by the second set of symptoms are designated SCP-3324-2. Further details are restricted to personnel with Level 4 or 3/3324 clearance. Data restricted. Level 3/3324 or Level 4 clearance required. Incident Redacted E. On July 9, 2017, SCP Redacted underwent an unwrapping event and accidentally referred to itself in the third person, enabling SCP Redacted-1 to escape its containment chamber and flee into a nearby D-Class dormitory. Once inside, it killed 3 D-Class and injured 7 before being recontained by security personnel. SCP Redacted researchers have concluded that SCP Redacted cannot reasonably be held responsible for the incident, and so no disciplinary measures will be taken. SCP Redacted is currently working with researchers to develop ways to prevent such incidents in the future. During Incident Redacted E, SCP Redacted-1 appeared to choose not to attack D348-6166-0040, which is unprecedented behavior for the object. A rigorous series of tests were carried out to try and determine the cause of this unusual behavior, to inconclusive results. However, 2 days after Incident Redacted E, D348 began to exhibit symptoms of kidney stones. It was then hypothesized that SCP-3324 may have been connected to SCP-Redacted-1's behavior. When it was discovered that D348 had been scheduled for testing with SCP-3324 10 days in the future, the current model for the object's second set of anomalous properties was created. If an individual with access to SCP-3324 plans for an individual, either themselves or another, to urinate into SCP-3324 at some point in the future, the individual scheduled to use SCP-3324 becomes an instance of SCP-3324-2. SCP-3324-2 instances will begin to exhibit symptoms of kidney stones. If they are planned to use SCP-3324 more than 18 days in the future, they will begin exhibiting symptoms 18 days prior to the planned date. If an SCP-3324-2 instance is scheduled to use the object less than 18 days in the future, they will begin exhibiting symptoms at variable times, ranging from a few hours after the plan is made to 2.5 days before the planned time. SCP-3324-2 instances cannot be prevented from urinating into SCP-3324 and passing their kidney stone at the planned time. Any action that would prevent this will be thwarted by circumstance in some way. It is believed that this is the result of SCP-3324 manipulating causality to avert a temporal paradox. If the SCP-3324-2 instance does not pass their stone into SCP-3324, there will be no retro-causal agent to give them the stone in the first place. Attempted actions averted by SCP-3324 include surgical removal of the kidney stone, confinement to a different room during the planned time, and killing the SCP-3324-2 instance. Selected Experiment Log. Test 17, July 12, 2017. Subject: D348. Proposal: D348 will be sedated to the point of unconsciousness. Agent Binney will then attempt to terminate D348 with his sidearm. Results: on the first attempt, Agent Binney's sidearm jammed. Agent Binney then disassembled, thoroughly cleaned, and reassembled his weapon. On his second attempt, his firearm jammed again. Agent Binney cleaned his weapon a second time. On his third attempt, the weapon fired successfully. However, Agent Binney unexpectedly sneezed while firing, causing the shot to miss D348's head and hit his shoulder instead. At this point, Dr. Thompson, SCP-3324 lead researcher, called an end to the test, and D348 was given medical treatment for his wound. Analysis: I ended the test when I did because I thought the causality affecting properties of SCP-3324 had been adequately established. However, the possibility that I chose to end the test at this point due to SCP-3324's influence has not escaped me. Dr. Thompson. Test 31, August 25th, 2017. Subject: D720. Proposal: D720 will be made into an SCP-3324-2 instance. He will then be exposed to SCP-Redacted, which, due to the nature of its anomalous properties, kills 100% of individuals exposed to its anomalous effects. Results: upon entering SCP-Redacted's active radius, D720 triggered its active state, as is expected. However, shortly before the time in which SCP-Redacted was expected to terminate D720, D720 vanished for 1.42 seconds before reappearing. He was then vaporized in a manner typical of those exposed to SCP-Redacted. 9 days later, at the planned date and time, SCP-3324 is laid on a table in a testing chamber equipped with tachyon detectors and high-speed cameras. D720 manifested for 1.42 seconds in the testing chamber. His pants and underpants manifested on the floor approximately 0.5 meters behind him. An estimated 2 millimeters of urine came out of his penis and he landed in SCP-3324. At the same time, D720's kidney stone emerged at high speed through the skin of the lower left portion of his torso and landed in SCP-3324. Greatly elevated tachyon emissions were measured during this period. Analysis: well, looks like 3324 isn't quite the miracle causality armor we hoped it was, but it still has tremendous potential. Heck, what happened to D720 is only a little bit worse than what was going to happen to him anyway. Dr. Thompson. SCP-3324 was recovered from the Redacted Fraternity House at the University of Redacted. Fraternity member Jeffrey B. became an SCP-3324-1 instance during a hazing ritual in which he was made to urinate on and then clean various objects. The following day, he discussed his feeling of having 2 sets of memories on social media to try and determine if anyone else had a similar experience. Several friends reported that they too remember certain events 2 ways. A Foundation web crawler flagged the exchange as probable indicators of anomalous activity, leading to the recovery of the item. Communication record, October 3rd, 2017. From Operations Administration at Foundation.scp to Laura Lutherdor at Foundation.scp. Subject: details on a new experimental procedure. You'll be urinating into SCP-3324 4 weeks from now, as will all other members of Mobile Task Force Upsilon 10. You all have been granted a Level 3/3324 clearance to understand the purpose for this. The field utility of SCP-3324 will be tested in your upcoming operation. Good luck, soldier, and drink plenty of fluids. Thank you for listening to SCP-3324. If you enjoyed this SCP, please follow the link in the description of the SCP Wiki, vote it up to support it and the SCP Wiki as a whole. Also, if you have any SCPs you'd like for me to do, please leave a comment below, and I'll see what I can do.